from. Tell your girl she can kick it if she wants some, but we got no time to waste.
Welcome to 4AZ. I'm your host, Tyler McDowell Blanken, and I am so excited for the conversation we're about to get into. 2 new episodes of Abbott Elementary, so of course we have to come on. I am not alone, though. This is plural. Sarah Beth is back. Mike Steph is back. Please, before we get into Abbott Talk, make sure to follow Sarah Beth at Dear Sarah Beth. Please be sure to follow Mike Steph at Mike_Steph. Support these two amazing people. And do it. Do it now. Do it after you watch or listen to this episode at the latest. Okay, you two, Abbott Elementary. I say this to you every time off air and on air. What a great 2-pack to discuss. Of course, we are recapping Karaoke and Audit. We're going to try something a little bit different this time. Rather than trying to recap every single solitary moment from the episodes, I want to get into the bigger picture from both of these. And my first question for you two, and I want the record to show, I loved both of these episodes. Loved them, loved them, loved them. My first question, though, what is more unrealistic? A principal getting fired on site, as Ava did at the conclusion of Audit? I knew we had reason to be worried.
Mhm.
I feel very indicated. That's not the right word to use. I feel very vindicated. Ava, we knew it was going to come to light, the deal with the golf course. The district hears about it. Thanks a lot, Crystal. What a sorrow you were. And now Ava has taken ownership of this transgression, and district leadership visited Abbott and said, "You gots to go. See you later." With Manny in tow. Manny, what are you doing? Okay, more unrealistic. Principal getting fired on site, or a first date gone bad, completely turning around, as we saw with Oshan and the aforementioned Ava Coleman. Of course, I want your thoughts on both of these in general, both of these storyline developments. Sarah Beth, that was a long preamble. Your thoughts on all this and what is more unrealistic?
I think that Ava getting fired in the way she did would definitely be more unrealistic. One, it was like Manny that did the firing, and it would come from her superintendent, which it was just very odd. One, because the superintendent was silent. It was Manny that was like, "Oh, you're fired," which that's not his job. When they had introduced him, season 3 was when they introduced him. He was introduced almost as a district program specialist. So that was very weird. There was no due process. Right? And just that they did it in front of everyone and "Oh, you're done." The whole thing, I was like, this is not, and I get it, right? They have a half hour they can't go through, but I was like, this is so unrealistic for just, she'd have a lawsuit on her hands because, yes, she admitted to, the contraband, but also, there wasn't quite the whole thing. I was like, doesn't sit right. So yeah, I'm going with that, especially because with Manny doing the firing, that was really, weird. It just was weird.
That's a great point, Sarah Beth. And there was that moment where they're in the Abbott, hallway, if you will, and District and Manny, confront Ava and staff. And credit to Ava, because there's that moment of, hey, we know who okayed this, and everyone's looking at each other. Classic sitcom movie moment. And Ava steps up and says, "It was me. I am to blame. Please hold my feet to the fire if anyone's going to get in trouble." So it was another big moment of growth for Ava Coleman. And now she's unemployed. We'll talk about maybe what that's setting up later. Mike Steph, more unrealistic.
I guess I would. Matter of fact, I'm going to be a contrarian here and say the date, only because, and I'm trying not to speak too much out of school. There was a situation that I'm aware of that a faculty member got let go recently. It wasn't in front of everybody, but pretty much everybody knows. So it's like they're dead man walking, which is kind of depressing. So that's why I'm saying it's not unrealistic, because it's kind of fresh in my mind. The way that date went, because of all the preconceived notions beforehand, how Ava wants to be kept on a pedestal and she looks down upon the peasants, so to speak, and for him to kind of show how much how much class he has and so forth with the surprise, but also the fact that she was able to turn it around because at first it looked like she was kind of shunning him off, and at the end of the day, he was like, you know what, like I don't need this. All right, you know what, we can get the check now. Like I'm not. Look, we went out. You know who I am. I'm trying to put my best foot forward out here, and it's not good enough. You're nitpicking everything. Give me the check. And then for her to actually realize that and then salvage it at the end, like, I'm going to give him a story at the end. Yeah, that happens, but most of the time, no. Once that man asks for that check, she gets in the cab, he gets in the car, and that's it. Maybe they reconcile at a later date, but it doesn't happen that day. So that's why I say that's a little bit unrealistic.
Well, Mike, didn't Ava use the classic Ava Coleman formula of mixing in humor with then some vulnerability and letting you in? I want to say the quote was, as they were outside, her and Oshan leaving the restaurant, she saw Oshan's vehicle. It wasn't like I forget. It was like a hatchback.
I think.
Yeah, Subaru. And I believe her question to Oshan was, "What lesbian did you steal this from?" It's like, oh yeah, that's. Oh, what's that, Sarah Beth?
If it was the lesbian comment, it's got to be a Subaru. Like
hilarious. As in Oshan's reminded, oh, something I love about Ava is her humor, and then they're totally back on track. Both of you raise compelling points. Okay, recent political times in our country. What is due process anymore? Are we still guaranteed it? I certainly hope so. Sarah Beth, I think I got to agree with Mike Steph on this. I have been on dates in my life. I've been on good dates. I've been on bad dates. How can a bad date just totally turn around like that? I'm glad it turned around, but I was shook in the moment of, oh, this is going bad really quickly. He's trying to talk about his roller coasters and he's even, speaking Japanese as well. And Ava is just, playing, just not very interested in what he's saying. And to Mike's point, he let her know right away, like, yo, we can just scrap this if this isn't the match that we thought it was going to be. And it turns out, no, they're actually destined for each other. I love it as fans. I was just concerned about, would this really happen though? Okay, so Ava, the fallout of Ava, what are our thoughts on that? That is, again, how we ended the audit episode. Sarah Beth, what do we think is next for Ava as we prepare? I know this coming week we have the music class episode, but what do we think is next for Ava, and who, if anyone,
I think Ava will be back.
You think so?
I do.
As soon as this week?
I think it's going to take some time. Because they can't just immediately bring her back. I don't think it was Crystal that told the district, for one, because they have no proof. They just said, we think it's Crystal.
Right.
Because Crystal had showed up that day, and then they get the call. But think about how weird it is that while district's standing there, they're about to get away with it, and then Miles walks in, and Miles says something about here I am with the contraband for my favorite scheming school. And in the way he's talking, and if you look back, right, all the other times he's interacted with them, has he made these comments and whatever, and kind of jokes, but his attitude's very different. He was cheerful, right? So I don't think, if Crystal did, I don't think she voluntarily did it, because I think Crystal's also very similar to Ava, right? It's that same attitude. But she knows that would hurt those students of Abbott. And so would she want to get back at Ava? Yes. But just I don't think Ava would ever do that to her kid. They are still there for what's best for the kids, even if they don't like each other. I don't think she would have gone to the district intentionally. And again, to me, Miles's presence in that scene was just so weird. That either he had said somehow I think he's involved, and I think that's going to lead further to and I think the parents are going to rally around. I know in a couple episodes is one titled Rally. Now, I don't know whether that's actually where that episode is going, but Ava has proven herself to these families as someone who does care about their children and the things she's done, Tariq and Crystal from PTO. I think they're going to step up, and I think they're going to help bring her back personally.
Well said, Sarah Beth. And the
Because they can't just
delivery.
like write her out and like that be the last time we see Ava.
Yeah, I think of, well, before we get into my thoughts, I have two thoughts on what you said. Mike, Steph, what say you? Classic Sarah Beth raising some compelling points here.
Oh no,
Ava.
that's very possible. Um, you know, one of my theories from last episode, where I guess her title would be secretary, because
Mhm.
remember at the end, the secretary, Ava's like, all right, come on.
Yeah,
And she's
Daya.
like, I told you, you're not my boss. And it was almost like matter of fact, like I knew this was gonna happen, but I'm not leaving. I think she might have tipped them off. For some reason, like I told you last episode, she's been acting real shady. I know the whole dynamic is they always butt heads because Ava's just like pretty much bossing her around or whatever. But something about that in the timing, like you said, when Miles coming in, don't y'all find it ironic that the one time Janine actually asked for something is the time they actually get caught with ish hit the fan? Because out of all the times he comes, he's like, yeah, I got your spell checks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Literally, I'm at work and I'm watching it. Oh, well, I don't think anybody. I'm at work watching it and I just slammed out. I was like, no, I thought they were going to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's that quote where Janine asks contraband at Abbott. We barely have pens.
And then Melissa says, you have pens? I had to write my notes in eyeliner today. I did love Gregory's comment about Janine, where he said, Janine hasn't asked for anything all year, and that kind of integrity deserves at least one bribe.
Yes. Gregory
And
has
that's the one that
low-key
got
some of my favorite quotes on each episode. This going back to what you said. Thank you, Mike. This going back, Sarah, back to what you said. Ava, really a through line of Abbott Elementary is that as we've gotten to know Ava more, and you and I know this, Sarah Beth, and Mike, Steph, you know this as well. Every principal has their own style and their own communication. We know Ava really has a good heart. Her delivery is a bit unique, but when you really unpack those layers of Ava Coleman, we know that she's about the right things. And I'm curious, before we move on to our next topic, can I interest you both in a potential fan theory? That's right, we're getting a fan theory early in this episode of O'Shawn being a double agent. This is the Tyler Perry history. I said this last time. I stand on it. Is O'Shawn not only just a double agent, but a double agent working for Crystal? Sarah Beth is not sold on Crystal.
I'm not sold on Crystal. I can't right now buy O'Shawn, and maybe just because, man, I really fell in love with him on that date. That chain and the glasses. He's like my Janine for you. Like,
oh wow.
O'Shawn can do no wrong to me right now.
Wow. Sarah Beth, did you see that tweet I included in our notes here? I want to make sure I give a shout out. John Q Public. They're at ZZ, spelled ZEEZEE on TV. They had a tweet during this week that included three pictures of O'Shawn from this date, and the caption was, instead of Shamar Moore, Shamar Most. Hashtag Abbott Elementary. Yeah, I mean the man. Shout out to Matthew Law, the actor. Beautiful, beautiful guy. O'Shawn was just, as the kids would say, Sarah Beth, he has motion. Have you heard this before?
I have not heard motion.
I learned that term this week. He has motion.
He does. I agree. That's a new slang I've learned. Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm not buying the double agent. And I think I could see why I think crystals are red herring. We're supposed to believe it's Crystal. And maybe it's Crystal that helps Ava get her job back.
Oh, snap. I love the sisterhood of
this.
That would be a great
they were
surprise.
from the same sorority. And again, they may not like each other personally, but I think they can recognize that they are both in it for what's best for the students and the communities. And they recognize how, because she even made that comment, like where, both Abbott and whatever school Crystal is at are low income communities. And they understand like how detrimental, again, that's why I just can't see her turning them in, because even if it's out of jealousy and like, yes, Abbott's getting these resources, her school's not, she understands how much that would affect for Abbott, like how much that does help improve the education at Abbott, like even if it's not fair. And so I'm not buying the double agent or that Crystal is involved, at least not intentionally involved.
They had that back and forth, Crystal, played by the amazing Tatiana Ali, and Ava, where Crystal said, I don't want your scraps. And then Ava responded, you didn't have a problem with that in college. Oh,
Yeah.
snap. Okay. Mike Steph, O'Shawn, double agent working for Crystal.
No. Especially with that comment being just thrown out in the ether. From what I know of Crystal, from her character, I think she would revel in that. Of okay, yeah, this guy that you really been fawning over. Yeah, I've been using him to. But I think she would have hinted at it beforehand. It wouldn't have been secretive. She would have had too much fun in not letting Ava know without actually knowing. So that's why I choose not to believe your fan theory. Why do you want O'Shawn to be a bad guy so much?
It's not that I want O'Shawn to have a villain arc, Mike Steph. I have seen enough Tyler Perry films to know that this is often what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily a stereotype. It just plagues these very handsome light-skinned actors. But again, Tyler Perry does not represent all of television, all the black writers. We are not a monolith. I just worry that I've seen enough examples of kind of the O'Shawn archetype that I wonder if he is just genuinely good-hearted. Something doesn't seem off to you?
You've been watching too much of the have and have-nots?
I probably have. Yeah. I probably have.
He does resemble Benny, though.
you both checking me on this gives me new insight. I just need to accept it's probably because I have trust issues.
Okay.
Separate episode.
Like a mini therapy session.
Trust issues mixed with Tyler Perry cinematography. I think you two are onto something. O'Shawn continues to prove to us, whether it's keeping the secret from the district, whether it's the date and not being a total jerk, but embracing the all that is Ava Coleman. It seems like maybe O'Shawn is really the character we can get behind.
I think you're projecting O'Shawn over stuff that maybe you might have done in the past, because this is the second time. It's like O'Shawn hasn't done anything to you. You keep on desecrating the character of that brother. What's going on?
Next topic: karaoke. Okay, you might be spot on, Mike Steph. You two know me too well. Okay, I know I started out with a spicy question for this recap, and let it be known, I loved the audit episode. I also loved the episode we saw a week beforehand, karaoke. There's a lot to get into about this episode. I want to hear both of your thoughts on it. I want to start by asking you, what is your best karaoke song, Sarah Beth?
My best karaoke song is "Take Me Home, Country Roads" by John Denver. It's my go-to. This is actually, I was so excited when I saw this in the show notes as one of your questions, because this is one of my favorite questions to ask people just in general, because it tells a lot about people. Because typically I'll get like 1 to 2 responses. Either they already have an answer and they can tell me why, or I'll get like, oh, I don't do karaoke. And I'm like, but that's not what I'm asking. You should still always have a go-to karaoke song. So it's one of my favorite, I feel like it tells me so much about somebody based on how they answer this question. So mine is "Take Me Home, Country Roads." My family is from West Virginia. It's like a staple. We're huge West Virginia University fans. And so we're big on Q Country Roads and singing it at the end of games. We sing it at my cousin's wedding. We know it inside out, anytime. And it's also such a good, because again, like I said, we go out for karaoke pretty regularly. And so there's a lot of, you're going to hear Journey. You're going to hear Garth Brooks' Friends in Low Places, which are all great songs. What I love about it is it's a song that most people have heard or know, but it's not overdone, which is one of the reasons I love it, is that people are still going to sing along with you, but it's not oh my gosh. There have been times where I've heard the same like Journey song like 3 times in the same. Oh no, Sublime. There was a while. Santeria, for whatever reason, one night it was like every 5th song. And so I'm guessing whoever was coming in didn't know it had already been like played. So it's just not one of the like main ones, but it's still popular enough that people like will sing along with you. And again, my family rallies around it. It's like sleeper cell agent, like turns us just feral, and it's my favorite.
Are there any answers that can be wrong if someone tells you their song? That's too much transparency. What if someone, Sarah Beth, what if someone tells you their karaoke song is Papa Roach, Last Resort? How do you respond?
I love that. I need you to know that the way in which I've cut my life into pieces since watching the episode on a regular basis. Not necessarily like a specific song. It's whenever they try to go like really like obscure type of thing, where it's like really that's the one like you're like, and especially like, for someone like where like, you know, I have some friends that are into some like really like obscure. They're like a difference where it's like, oh, you picked that one just to get like a reaction out of me versus like that's not really the song you would pick, or it's like, you know, that's not going to be in the karaoke catalog. Sure. So that's more of like that one. And then like it's like a yellow flag to me again when someone's like, oh, I don't do karaoke.
A yellow flag.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily red, but it tells me like, oh, you're not like if you're automatically I'm like, you don't even do like car karaoke with your friends, like you don't have a go-to. Like, even if you're not, you know, like we go, I don't get up and sing. I'm a great backup singer for whoever's up there from my booth. So it's more like a yellow flag of like, oh, either you're just not really like confident in yourself, or like you're not afraid to like make a fool of yourself, that I'm like, that's like a yellow flag. But a red flag is anyone who picks something just like very obscure where it's like, oh, you're picking that because you want me to admit like I don't know the song, and like that's just like I don't like that. Like, it's kind of condescending. Like,
sure.
Like, this is a fun question. Why are you making it not fun?
That's the intent of it. Mike, Steph, favorite karaoke song? Are you going Sweet Caroline?
No, I wouldn't do that. Sweet Caroline.
Listen, you know you took the first shot at me. The least I could do out of respect to you is just give you a Sweet Caroline back.
I mean, you act like I'm a Yankee fan. If I was a Yankee fan, I would feel offended. You should feel offended but have that to come out, like, you know.
Mike Steph is ready for baseball season 3. Mike, so thoughts Mike Steph podcast.
I'm with you. I love baseball season.
What I would say, because I have so many songs that I probably would do. I wouldn't be ashamed of doing, but I'm gonna just go back to our pre-show talk. It would probably be early Madonna, either Holiday or I don't know. Get into the groove. Get into the groove, boy. You got the groove. Yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, it would be one of those. But yeah, Sarah Beth, when she said Journey, I was like, darn, that's part of my new playlist. I've been waiting for a girl like you. Yeah.
Look at
I'm a karaoke
you gotta
king.
Clip that
Production karaoke king. Huh?
You saw
I
that.
think that's the clip for the show notes.
I was just reminding the production team, please make sure we clip that. Mike Steph in his element.
Yeah,
please
but
continue.
I guess it would be anything early Madonna.
Probably. Okay, that's fair. I've heard Sweet Caroline played the most. Granted, I have not had as many karaoke experiences as others because I don't go outside, but I've heard Sweet Caroline performed many, many times. If I had to choose a song, though, I would go really anything from Usher, from the 8701 album. You Remind Me, You Don't Have to Call, You Got It Bad. Just 3 of the greatest songs that I've ever heard. I want to speak about this episode, though. What did we think? Because there are so many different directions to take this. Granted, it was a more lighthearted episode. I love that we got to see Jacob talking that talk. Okay, Jacob, what did he tell the guy? He said, "Oh, I'm the guy you were supposed to hit on about 30 minutes ago." You talk your talk, Jacob. Okay.
What was it? He started by like calling him the wrong name, right? Like, oh, Will.
Yes.
And
it was that
so good.
Right here. So that arguably was maybe my favorite, is that moment of, and I think this, and you two let me know if I'm tripping, it kind of touches on if all of your success in life is just all of your success and happiness is just happening at your workplace, that's not going to lead you to being fulfilled long term. I think Jacob is an example of that. More on that in a little bit. So I love that we saw him embracing his confidence. This is after he saw his ex, and his ex is thriving, and said, "Oh yeah, I just have my one man show. Oh, what's it called? Got Out. It's about past relationships and how I'm thriving now." Like Jacob, the crash out for Jacob could have been real. He could have been down bad, but instead he turned it around all within one episode. I love that for him. I forgot that there are karaoke establishments where you can have private karaoke rooms. Again, that's a me thing because I don't go outside. And then I also love that we saw Janine and Gregory and another element of their relationship, how Gregory was going full into rideshare mode, and he was really focused on making that happen. But Janine had been preparing presumably all week for their duet. Ja Rule, Ashanti, always on time. We even got to hear a City High song. I had the City High album back in the day. This episode was working for me on so many levels.
Yeah.
Sarah Beth, talk.
It was
to me. You
such
feel
a
the
good
same way?
episode. Like, I remember, like, the second I finished it, I immediately messaged you and I was like, I cannot wait to talk about it because one, it was just much more interesting, than the last two. Like, it was just funny. Like, when Jacob did Papa Roach Last Resort, as they're like, he better not do anything ironic. And he better not do Ironic by Alanis Morissette. And then he breaks into that. And then you've got Mr. Johnson over there doing air guitar, like, and just, it was a lot of like really funny, like one line, like it was a really nice comedic relief for one. Like when Gregory is like practicing how he's going to greet the Uber people. And he's like, Gregory's Goofy Games or whatever. And like, just kind of ridiculous. One of the things I also love, and it always goes back to like their writing, is, I don't know if you caught this, when Ava meets Zach's new boyfriend, Wyatt.
Yes.
And she goes, Wyatt. And he says, Wyatt. Do you remember what happened when she met Zach?
I do.
And she goes, Black? And he goes, no, Zach. Like, just such perfect, like, that full, and it's just those, like, little moments of, like.
Ava's making a compelling MVP case. We'll get to that later in the episode.
I'm also wondering, like, and because it ties in a little bit to Audit, because with, can they rename the friend being there with the boyfriend from the district and how like they keep breaking up on and off.
Yes.
And then when he I think they broke, I can't remember now. They broke up at the end, and Jacob opens the door and he says, they got the wrong idea about you at the district. So again, there's these like weird, which again ties into my, I don't think it's Crystal. Oh, I wonder if it was him.
Wow.
Because I wonder if Janine said something to her friend.
Wow.
And then her friend said something in passing, like not intending, right? But like,
we need one of those suspect walls where we can just.
Yeah,
I'll
but then
speak
I
with the
think about, I
production
know
team
you
to see if
didn't
we-
really watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but there's an
I did
episode
not.
of Charlie Day where he has one, and it
gift,
really just
yes.
turns out he's like lost his mind, and it's always like that popular meme. That's how I
Great
feel.
thread. Yes.
But like now I'm actually like, as I'm like thinking out, because even back, because like there was the comment in the second in Audit where Manny goes, and she has the great nickname at the district, but we won't go, like there's been some weird digs about the district in them throughout the season. But like
speaking of handsome characters, we probably like Manny, Sarah Beth. Is there any chance? Because fans have been thinking that for a year that something's off with this Manny
something
guy.
is off with Manny. I can't place
Is this
it.
the moment?
But I also just always kind of feel that way about people who work for the district, because they're so far removed from the classroom. And so like, it's really easy to be like, I think in a way, I don't know, something doesn't sit right, but it just might be my personal bias, because like, it's easy to be like that positive in that, right? Like it's easy. Like, it's weird that you're coming in this positive about an audit for contraband when you know that Abbott doesn't have the resources it should. Like something about Manny doesn't, and I don't necessarily think he's maybe like nefarious. I think it's that true disconnect between like the people making the rules and the people being forced to implement the rules. Like there's always that, like we always have that disconnect when, someone who's making the decision hasn't been in the classroom for 20 years. And, you know, I'm like, hey, these like post-COVID kids are a different breed. Parenting has changed. And it's like, so yeah, it's really easy for you to come in with a smile and tell me it's okay to do it with outdated technology because you're not the one doing it. And so I don't know. I don't necessarily get a nefarious vibe from Manny, but like he doesn't sit right with me.
Sure.
Like
And he seems
positive, and maybe that's just me being a little cynical. I don't know. Maybe that's my own issues.
I've been accused of this in the past too. Yeah.
Like there's just something, but there's just been a lot of digs this season about like how the district feels about different teachers at Abbott.
It's a fantastic observation.
Why?
Mike, Steph, karaoke. Did you love this episode as much as we did?
Yeah, especially when you're talking about the one-offs. One of my favorite like lines or scenes is when Mr. Johnson was doing his hustle and flow karaoke, and I'm like, wow. Also, the timing of Gregory showing up when their duet was always on time. The irony of that.
Did not even catch that.
So
yes.
So that which got that like perfectly, bow tied the episode. I love how Janine was understanding of Gregory, and I believe her understanding of, okay, listen, this is what he has his second job for. He has to handle his business. Okay, I want him here, but I'm not going to force the issue. I believe if she would have handled that differently, he probably would have blew her off and said, you know what, I got to get this money. Yeah. But being the fact that she was so nurturing, like, okay, babe, we could do it. We could do it at a later time. Allow him to have that epiphany of, okay, listen, she's going above and beyond. She really could hold me to this. Fine. All right. I made as much as I'm going to make. Let me at least try to get there before it ended. So there was so many different aspects. Now, this is one of the things I had in my notes that I want to mention. And this is not the first time Barbara. Okay, everybody knows Barbara is musical, both on screen and off screen, and she's very, critical of people's. She was being very critical of people's pitch, tone, and so forth. It was also funny that the two couples, Janine's friend and the guy from the district, was singing Keisha Cole, "Love," because in reality, that whole song is off pitch and off tone. So literally, they were singing it correctly. So, but Barbara, this is not the first time we've seen during the series that Barbara gets a little bit loose when it comes to these little after hour things. She likes to imbibe her alcohol, her spirits, and we're not talking about the church spirits that she's which got akin to, but even when she was complimenting O'Shawn, she was like, and I'm like, Barbara, you're a woman of a certain age, married, upstanding citizen, and like the little cougar came out, so it was interesting to see when she lets her guard down, when they had the banquet or whatever at the golf thing, and it was with the truffles. She also showed how she gets down. So I like you said, it was a good Buffett episode. It was a good episode to wash the stench out of the past two, and also to lower our senses for what was to come in the next episode. Because if at the end of karaoke, you would have never thought what was going to end up at the end of audit. So it was good to like lower our senses and recalibrate.
Yeah, it's that emotional roller coaster. And I think of the friends in my life who maybe don't partake in Abbott. And often it can be because I don't want to see something on screen that I live every day, which is a totally legit reason. I think karaoke, as you said, Mike, it's sort of that perfect balance of, it's not even about being in the classroom or student behavior. This is just about coworkers going to karaoke and all of the adventures that come with that. It was just what did they say? Just memory, a stroll down memory lane for me with the songs. Mike, you said it. Keisha Cole, Love. Sarah, I mentioned City High, and I think you mentioned earlier we spoke about Papa Roach, and just all these songs from my past that elicit memories for me. I thought this episode was super strong, and like you said, Mike, kind of that nice palate cleanser. And again, if you're like me and have dear friends in your life who you're trying to convince to watch Abbott, this is one of those episodes where it's like, bruh, just check this out, laugh, and then you're gonna be hooked. I promise. Mike,
I
Steph,
have a question. You mentioned City High.
I had the album.
I bet you did. So you was a fan of Claudette Ortiz.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Okay. That's all I need to know.
I went to Circuit City with my dad, and he Circuit City, Sarah Beth, this is true. I do not tell lies.
Believe you. That's just why. Like, what a wild. I haven't thought about a Circuit City in 20 years.
In a minute. Okay. One more question for you both before we get into fan theories. Oh, and also, by the way, big shout out to our fans at Awaken Kate. Shout out to Kate, one of dear coworker in my past, amazing teacher. She commented she loves Gregory. His side eyes are devastating. And she also says, of course, my favorite storyline is the romance of Janine and Gregory. I agree, Kate. Thank you so much for your love. Okay, my final question for you both before theory time, theory corner, as it were. What's the significance of Barbara taking on the music class? We mentioned earlier that is this week's episode. Do we think there's a larger situation that's about to pop off, or is it a case of Ava looks to the veteran on staff to help out, to take the lead when there's a vacancy, and Barbara happens to be that person? And for the reason you said, Mike, of she's musically inclined. Is this just sort of just a means to an end episodically, or do you think this is going to have implications for the rest of the season? Sarah Beth, you want to get us kicked off?
So I have a fan theory, and I hope I'm right, because then the fan theory that you have that I hate, I think
about your mans with the chain.
No, no, that one too. I hate that one, but that one I'm not.
Yeah, I know you
about
do.
Barb retiring.
Barb retiring. Let's talk about it.
I don't think she's retiring. I think she's going to become the new music teacher.
Interesting.
I think she's realizing, like, and it's like Ava said, and like I had mixed feelings about it, because like I definitely like resonated a lot with Barb. Like when they first came to her, I was like, "Hey, will you do this? I'm paid," and she's like, "But I already have," and they're like, "Oh no, it'll be after school." And it's not hard. Like I always talk to, like, especially like new teachers, where I'm like, "Hey, like you're always gonna have work to do. Like it's not possible for us to get everything done. And yes, we need to do what's best for kids and things like that. But if you're at the point where you're burning yourself out, like burning yourself out isn't what's best for kids. And sometimes you do have to say no to projects, because like you're not going to be, when you're, so many like irons in the fire, you don't get to be able to give your best to your kids." And so I definitely like resonated with her when they first came to her, and she's like, "No." I did appreciate like how Ava came to her later and was like, this is why, is that I know you're burned out. And I felt like if you were doing something you loved, which I know you love music, then like maybe like it would reinvigorate you. Which is why, and just thinking about that episode, and I think the little boy who came to her at the end, or in the like closing scene, and he was like, "I never thought I'd have you as my teacher again." And I think that's a way for her to do something she loves, to stay in the classroom. But also, like, again, she's taught all these kids since they were in kindergarten. Like, to then, if she goes into this music position, she gets to teach them. Like I think him saying that kind of clued in. And they said the music teacher had retired. So my guess is she's going to move into that position, or maybe she'll retire and do that position part-time. But I think that's where she's leading, is that I think that she's going to realize she's not ready to retire yet, but she's also burned out with, which the fact that she's been teaching kinder as long as she has, because I've said it a million times, you cannot pay me to go to kinder. I love them. I can't do it. They're feral. Like, again, that little boy was like, "I pooped." Like, I can't do it. But so I think that's my possible fan theory, is like, that's kind of where she's heading, is that she's going to be the new music teacher.
Myself.
I swear, one of these weeks, I'm going to use that word feral for a title of one of my episodes. I love that word. No, I definitely agree that Ava giving her that position, especially the statement that she gave her with that she had when she gave when she offered it to her, will bring up a new flame. So it's one of those things like, yeah, remember the whole premise of when she first started that day was she felt she was late, she didn't she really wasn't in a great mood, she's like trying to just grind it out, get there, and then by the end it's like, you know what, I forgot, not that she forgot, but it was like re-emphasize of, this is what I do it for. I do it for this kid. I do it for this kid. I do it for the smile on his face. I do this for the kids. Like, I'm an institution at Abbott. So not I can't leave. And yeah, I know I have hard days, but at the same time, they're going to be the ones that give me that second wind, that extra boost of energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see her being the full-time music teacher, and like y'all both discussed, well, like Sarah Beth discussed, that extending her time at Abbott, when maybe a couple weeks ago you could see that she had one eye toward the front door. So yeah.
Exactly. I love it, Sarah Beth. I'm totally here for it. Okay, fan theories continued. This is a very good one. I'm very excited to ask you too. Has Jacob surpassed Barbara as most likely to leave the classroom after this year? Not to leave Abbott, but as Jacob giving counselor energy this season? We know his interactions with RJ. We know he's about the job. He's about supporting kids. He's about Abbott. But I wonder, as he surpassed Barbara as being most likely to step out of the classroom, and rather than taking a music position, as perhaps Barbara's doing, as the great Sarah Beth said, maybe Jacob is the next lead counselor at Abbott Elementary. Going back to that district episode, district budget meeting. What do you both think, Sarah Beth? Just a fan theory.
Yeah. Counselor, not so sure, because like it's kind of implied like they have a counselor maybe one day a week if they're like lucky. But I do wonder, because he's always been very like rooted in like social justice. And I wonder if he were to leave the classroom, or I could either see it either being like almost like a after hours doing more work with like, I think what has happened with the contraband and like the district meeting and then like not getting resources, I think those are the pieces that are not sitting with them right. And I could see him moving more into like an activist role of, because it's a very, how like their unions are portrayed, right? Like they made that comment where it was like teachers are hard to fire because your unions are annoying and whatever. But like, I'm a member, I'm much on our like leadership and our the Marana union as part, also the Arizona union, and like yes, like pieces that we do are like negotiation and stuff. But a lot of like what we do is like meet with like state legislators and things like that to help support public education. And so like, unions like get this like bad rap, especially teaching unions right now are getting a lot of like bad rap, right? That we're just protecting, like we're demanding, and like there's like a lot of misconceptions is that like the district pays the union, which they don't. Like it's very like our union runs just like every other union runs. You pay your union dues and things. So whether that would be like through a union role or just like an activist role, I could see him stepping, especially right now with like what is going on with the Department of Education. Like I could see that being a storyline, like later on, him stepping into more like a political activist role to help like advocate for the resources. So I don't quite see him leaving, but
okay. Well, that makes me happy because he's one of my favorite characters.
Who isn't our favorite? Like
it's true. It's
a good thing.
No, I don't see him leaving.
Really?
No. Well, because like you said, the counselor role is implied that would be one day a week. So what? Every episode is going to just happen to be that one day that Jacob is there? No, it wouldn't work that way. Also, the dynamic of all the teachers and the faculty that they do show on a regular basis, he's integral to that. Like he brings what he brings, nobody else brings.
Yeah.
So I can't really, if anything, I could see them maybe, quote unquote, giving him a position to kind of expand his role on the show a little bit. But as for him leaving or going to a different, doing a different role, no. At least nothing that would diminish his role. So yeah, I guess that would be the best way to explain it. I do have one thing, which it's kind of been gnawing at me since I saw the end of the Order episode, is the fact that, okay, we know they might have gotten all this contraband, even terming it contraband. Like contraband is a term like when you're in prison and you have stuff that you're not supposed to have, but yet they're using that term for school. The district is literally searching the school for perks that they didn't provide. So even if they did receive it, just for the fact that you're going throughout the whole building looking for laptops, looking for extra pens, looking for, like, are you serious? On top of the fact that this is coming off the heels of the district meeting where you were denying all these schools extra funding. So if they found the way to receive something, then come out your precious budget, why are they being punished for it? And then at the end of the day, for y'all to actually take the contraband for yourself, what are y'all going to do with it? Y'all going to use it for yourself? You're going to give it to a different school? No, it's going to be into it. Like, what are y'all going to? Are y'all going to give it back to the golf people? No, like that was the part of that episode that infuriated me so much, is that they're being penalized for finding a way to get the students what they desperately needed. Because at the end of the day, isn't it supposed to be about the students? It's not supposed to be about the budget. It's not supposed to be about how they got it. They didn't steal it. They got somebody to donate it. Did they hold a carrot over there? Yeah, but they got somebody to donate it. So I don't understand why they would be treated like criminals for doing it. Now, firing Ava, I guess I get what you're saying, because she's in a position that she's supposed to be held to a high standard or whatever, and plus she doesn't have a union, even though whatever. But for them to actually treat Abbott, which has always been on low end of the totem pole when it came to resources, like how dare you? Like that really rubbed me the wrong way, and I know that happens in reality a lot, and that's kind of like especially in New York. Like I said, I'm trying not to get too much into it, but I know in New York there's a perceived battle between district schools and charter schools, and they feel like the charter schools are taking too much of the resources, what have you. No, the difference from what I perceive, the difference is the district school has to deal with the city and the state, what they decide to give that school. The charter school, yeah, they receive funding from the district and the state, but they also have little benefactors that are pump money into the school. That shouldn't be held against the students, So I don't know. It's just, like I said, that whole thing really just stuck with me really badly. So I just wanted to get that across.
I want to just point out is Mr. Johnson was such great comedic relief through both episodes. Like his one-liners were so good. Like him telling the whole story about like where "excuse me" comes from when they were like trying to audit. And then he's like, oh, thanks for distracting them. And he's like, distracting who? Or like the cold open where he like said he brought the one, like the pastry, whatever. And he's like, I trained at this, like the French pastry set. And he's like, I didn't do that. Like, I just felt like he was so funny. He like made the Fleetwood Mac comment where he's like, finally, you guys are here. I've already done the whole Fleetwood Mac catalog. Like, I just Fleetwood. Really, right. Cause he's been such a good like background character. Like nothing's really like revolved around him necessarily, but he's always there. Actually, my favorite was whenever Eddie and Janine were talking, and I forget exactly, but he goes, "You think I can't kick you? You think I won't whoop your ass in front of your girl?" And then he like threw the mop down and was like, "Pick it up." I was dying. And then as Gregor said, he's like, "Mop." But she's like, "You can stop. He's gone." And he's like, "Shh." Like, I just like he hasn't really like I don't want to say he hasn't contributed to the plot, but like not directly. But I'm just real grateful for him and his comedic timing.
Great shout. I will talk about Mr. Johnson in a little bit. Mike, Steph, anything we missed before exit ticket?
You know, I just realized when she said cold open, the cold open with the two dresses with Janine and Ava wearing the same dresses.
Talk about it.
That was crazy. And the funny thing is, I'm not sure if people picked up on it, but when Ava said, you know, it's like, what's the? She's like, yeah, you know, I always got that new. You know, that was actually a reference to ATL. Cause remember,
of course, one of my favorite.
Yeah. So I was like, Don, I like the reference to
Lauren
ATL,
London.
but
yes,
the
sir.
question, the part that had me dying was the fact that how fast when she saw Janine and Janine was like, oh my God, we can take a picture and everything. Totally different outfit.
How did you do that? That's just
it was almost like
it's what I do.
It was almost like a scene out of Bewitched. Yeah, I'm dating myself again. A scene out of Bewitched where she just twinkles she does her nose and all of a sudden she just goes into a different outfit. I was just like, that is crazy. That is crazy.
Awesome.
But she was like, oh no, me and Janine will not be caught nowhere having the same style.
When Johnson called her Dr. Evil and Mini-Me.
Yes.
That was great.
That was a good cold open. Also, like, Sheminti during that cold open was killing me because she was just, like, I think that was more just a genuine reaction from her of, like how she was, like, giggling about it. I was like, that's gotta be.
No, that was a good cold open. That was a good cold open.
That was fantastic. I'm so glad we mentioned Melissa Sheminti, by the way, before we prepare to get out of here. This is a Melissa Sheminti podcast, after all, especially when you two grace the stage. Okay. You two know what it's time for. Exit ticket. Who was your MVP of this two-pack? Easy for me to say. Sarah Beth, who you got?
Ava from both episodes. Yep. Because we see in the karaoke episode, which I'm just going to say I called it. I knew it was because of her relationship with her dad. But even like within that, like, right, where that date going terribly wrong, that was like a different Ava, right? She was way more aggressive and standoffish. Like usually, yes, she's got, you know, a great like comeback and all those pieces. But this one, it was like, I mean, she was going out of her way to be almost like hateful. But she was pushing him away, right? Because if I keep him at arm's length, I don't get hurt. And so, but I think for her to realize, and yes, I know, like, bad date gone wrong, unrealistic, but we also only have like 25 minutes for the episode, right? Like, we got to get it done. But I think like the way in which like he called her on it, which it's one of the things I think O'Shawn is such a good pairing for her because he's not afraid to like call her on it, but he does it like with this like sense of like compassion and understanding. You know, he's not nasty about it. He's not rude. But for her to like reflect on it and then to be vulnerable, right? That's a hard thing to turn around when you're being that standoffish because you don't want to be hurt. And then to be like, hey, here's this piece. You know, my dad started another family with a waitress from a chain restaurant. Like, this is hard. And so that, and then again, just the way in which her character growth over the seasons, the way she was willing to, you know, and I don't know. I think her answer would have been the same had she known, right? Because when she volunteered to take one for the team, she thought she was going to like be just put on probation or suspended. I think she still would have done it had she known what it meant. Because I think she realizes too, at the end of the day, yes, everyone participated, but they participated because of her guidance. And the way in which she's also showing, right? Like she sees Barb. Hey, I saw you were burned out. Right? Season 1, Ava would never have noticed those things. Like her noticing saying, hey, I saw you were burned out and I was hoping that by giving you something that you loved, But in true Ava fashion, she said, also it made me look good. So Ava is my MVP from both episodes.
I love it. Mike, Steph, who you choosing?
No, I'm not going to be a contrarian this time. No, I agree. I definitely agree. Just like I said, well, to piggyback, her compassion and vulnerability showed at both episodes. The first one with O'Shawn, where she finally just broke down because I think she realized, like, listen, I'm about to let this good catch go away. Like, I've been actively sabotaging this date, and he's not falling for the bait. He's just like, he's about to literally let me go. And I don't want to be let go. So yeah, let me straighten this up right now. And even on a surface level, you would think that she was just throwing up a bone, like, all right, well, he divulged some personal information to me, so I'm just gonna give him that. But like you mentioned, the fact of the information that she chose to give was based on her father, based on her, her childhood or whatever. That was that was intentional. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I have been very harsh this date. You know what? Let me throw this out there so we can kind of like reel it back and not start anew, but start from the same level. And then the second one, even though it started out as, well, sure, I'm going to go to Cabo. Like, yeah, I'm going to have this vacation. No, she would have did it. She would have did it because her missing is one thing. The teachers, because they wouldn't have got just rid of one teacher, they probably would have tried to get rid of the whole staff. Mm-hmm. So that was literally taking one for the team. Like, you know what? My position, as much as I don't want to think so, I can be, replaced. This staff can't be replaced. Not for this school. Not for what we built here. Yeah. So you know what? Yeah, I'll take one for the team. And I'm not even gonna really push back. It's like the less I push back, the better it is for whatever I left over. So I'm just gonna walk quietly, even though them escorting her out like she was about to go post through. It's like, really? And once again, Manny is a man of many faces. He's a district, whatever. He's a security guard. He's I'm sorry, I already thought Manny was shady, but yet this guy wants to get rid of O'Shawn. But neither here nor there. Yeah. So Ava, MVP.
Compelling cases. I'm gonna possibly surprise you too. I came to this conversation. That's hilarious.
We're being so understanding.
That's
gotta be Janine.
Stood by your man.
No, y'all got.
She got spell checks for the school.
Definitely clipping this out, production team. Get on it. Okay, so I came to this conversation prepared to choose Mr. Johnson, simply based off of that scene that you mentioned, Sarah Beth, where he stepped to Gregory and the Gregory just with the bop and not to mention, as you both pointed out during the karaoke episode, he was hilarious as always. But I have grown. You two have convinced me. My choice is not Ava this week, although very compelling case, but her man's O'Shawn. I don't think there's a villain arc after all. I mean this sincerely. Both of you have presented very compelling evidence. I think he is going to play. I think he's really established himself because I think about with Abbott, like these supplemental characters, like what is their purpose on the show? Is it just for the jokes? Is it just to, what is their role? I think O'Shawn is really proving that he's going to be a mainstay. And the fact that he's such a perfect complement to Ava, it's working for me. It really is. And I think he played an invaluable role in these two episodes. To come from, he wasn't even in the picture to start the season, even several episodes in, and then now he is here and he's an indispensable part of this. I think it's a big look. So for all those reasons, O'Shawn is my MVP. But big ups to Ava Coleman. I have a feeling we are not done seeing her. I think she's going to get her job back before the end of this season 4.
I have one thing to add. I personally think, this is my fan theory, I personally think O'Shawn is going to be the reason Ava gets her job back.
There we go. Talk your talk, Mike Steph.
That's what I believe. Yeah. I mean, listen,
I could see it.
He's in charge of all the IT, meaning he has access to everything.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna get his hands on some information and hold it. Like, listen, okay, you want to do this to Ava because she actually got resources for her school. listen, guess what? I have access to the books. I know exactly where the money's being. No, and I know I'm dead serious. It's not even a joke.
I know
Like,
you are.
I have access to the books. Like, okay, do we really want to take it there, or do you want to just sweep this under the rug and just let bygone be bygones? Oh yeah, and by the way, that contraband that goes back into the school too. That's what I think.
Sarah Beth, any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. I like that fan theory. I think he is going to play a role in her coming back. What that looks like, I'm not sure. It'll be something dramatic, I think. And that could play into the rally piece. I might have a fan theory. I don't quite have it like formulated, but I'm wondering, right? Because we started the season with the transportation strike. And knowing we have an episode coming up called Rally, and there's been comments about the teachers union, I could see them going on strike to like help support Ava and getting her job back, or going on strike and demanding resources from the district. I think that might be where that's heading, and it would make it right because we see, right, in the strike episodes, our girl, right, pro-union, she's ready to walk out at any moment. Like, you don't have to ask Melissa Schminty twice to strike. Like, she is ready to go. I think I could see her becoming kind of like I'm really just like, as I'm talking, it's like, but like kind of leading that charge. And then you have Jacob, who's very like, also he's very upset with the district. And like, I think those were eye-opening experiences for him. I could see those two kind of like leading the charge. And either, again, rallying, striking to either get Ava her job back or to get the resources, or both. Because I think they're realizing the district is not doing what's best for the students and the community. And I don't see our friends taking that and just being like, oh, well, bummer.
Well, there's only one way to find out. You got to tune into Abbott. You got to tune in to our recaps. You know, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Please follow these amazing people again at Dear Sarah Beth, at Mike_Steph. Follow us at 4AZ Teach for exclusive show updates and more. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.